Hello, my friend. I'm so excited to be here with you today. I'm here to talk to you about a subject that is so close to my heart, and that is my frozen shoulder. So, I had a frozen shoulder for almost the last 3 years. And in the last, I want to say, month and a half, 6 weeks, my frozen shoulder has cleared up. So, this was like a 3 year in the process, everyday, constant part of my life. And the fact that I am recovered from it is truly miraculous, but it wasn't a passive miracle. I was very much a participant in how it turned out. And I wanted to make this short video because I wanted to share something on the internet about my experience having a frozen shoulder because I found that there was very little available to me in terms of what is it like going through this? How do you really get better from this? Everything that I read on the internet said that you would be better in a month. And it took almost 3 years for me to get better. And so I found that some of the information I was getting almost made me feel more isolated because it was not speaking to my experience. I tried everything to get my frozen shoulder to go away. And in the end, it was not one specific thing, it was a combination of so many different things that I tried. So it started about 3 years ago when the pandemic first hit. I was under an excruciating amount of stress because I owned a business and there were so many things happening with the business and the pandemic. And I started to notice that the more I physically stressed, the more my body started to contract and constrict and physically lock up. And so I would say that my frozen shoulder probably started at least 6 months before I ever even went to the doctor or talked to anybody about it because I didn't know how to talk about what was happening to me. I just knew that my arm was constantly hurting. There was an ache that I couldn't quite describe. I couldn't put my pants on. I couldn't reach behind me to put a bra on or put a shirt on. It was really painful and started to inflict upon everyday things that I was doing. And really, the most affected part was my range of motion. So it started by me going to an orthopedic doctor, and he did diagnose me with a frozen shoulder. I got an x ray. It was a pretty shoddy x ray, meaning it didn't even really take an x ray of the problem area. So he could tell by my range of motion and by the way I was wincing. And he told me it was like I was holding in a broken wing, like I was just holding in my arm. And he said that that was classic frozen shoulder. So the first thing he did was give me a steroid shot and sent me to physical therapy. And I would say the steroid shot started really the path of, it was many steroid shots before things got better. But that first steroid shot, if from what I remember, it kind of gave me false hope. Like some of the pain stopped. So I stopped doing the stretches that the physical therapist gave me and that the orthopedic doctor told me to do. So the interesting thing about the cortisone shot, the steroid shot, is that it f- tricked me into thinking I was better, but I wasn't. So then I stopped doing the things. So then the frozen shoulder, as soon as the shot wore off, was still there. So I went back to the doctor again multiple times, and this was a stream of trial and error. I did acupuncture, I did chiropractic, I did physical therapy. Those things helped. But what I also found was that the physical therapy, they wanted me to do some like strength building stuff, but what the orthopedic told me was that it was reinforcing bad movement. So I stopped with the physical therapy until it was along much further. I also worked with a osteopath and he would do these myofascial treatments, and I'm not exactly sure what that did in the long scheme, but it was part of all of the therapies that I tried. I also did massage. I went to Mexico for 6 weeks, and part of that frozen shoulder rehabbing was taking a really deep, long rest because what I found was that I had gotten myself so stressed out, so worked up that I needed a really long rest. So I was able to give myself time by going to Mexico and resting and just staring at the horizon for about 6 weeks. Part of that was getting a massage every week. And I mean, in the kind of massage that makes you cry. There were actually several sessions where I wept like a baby. He did some really intense cupping. Cupping is so painful if you've never done it before, but it worked. And I could slowly start to feel the muscles because my muscles were just so contracted and so tight even the right side of my body, the frozen shoulder was on the left, which is also my dominant hand. The right side of my body was almost starting to mimic some of the same pain, probably because it was overcompensating for what my left arm couldn't do. So it was just a slow process of constantly coming back to it every day. I do yoga regularly, so I actually had to stop doing a lot of the yoga that I was doing. I couldn't hold the poses the way I could, but I needed to stretch. So I really focused on stretching and breathing. The orthopedic doctor told me that if I wasn't in pain when I was stretching, then I wasn't stretching hard enough. So there was also this really interesting kind of juxtaposition of ideas where in yoga, we never push ourselves farther than what feels good. And he told me that I needed to push myself further than what felt good. So the stretches really helped, but they were really painful stretches. And that needed to happen almost every day just to feel baseline, just to be okay. You know, what was interesting about having a frozen shoulder is that you're constantly thinking about your arm. And what's interesting when you don't have chronic pain is that you're actually not thinking about your body parts very often. So there would just be really everyday activities that I would have to analyze. How am I going to move my arm to do this? Some of those things would be as simple as putting on a seatbelt. I'd have to reach behind me, and that would cause me to think like, okay, if I reach behind me, is that going to hurt? Or how can I move my arm in a way that isn't going to hurt myself? So it just became this constant series of calculated movement. And that was so interesting because I never really thought about what my arm was doing. I just move my arm, lift my arm, raise my hand, do a thing, carry a bag, and it just wasn't like that for almost 3 years. So it felt like a series of moving forwards and setting backs because just when I thought the frozen shoulder was about to be done and I stopped doing my stretching, it all came back. So every time I thought it was better, parts of it were better and parts of it weren't. So, for instance, I was able to get my external rotation, so moving my arm back, before I was able to get my internal rotation. The fact that I can make this 90-degree bend in my elbow is a true miracle. I can't even tell you. I mean, at one point, like I could move my arm about that far. So it was really just a series of continuously showing up for my left arm, constantly plucking away at it. And there were some highlights. There were some things that I did that I think helped more than others, but I can't, as I said, nail down one thing that actually helped. I will say what really helped towards the end, because towards the end it was still crunchy. And that's what I would tell my doctor is I feel like I can move my arm better now, but it still felt like it was catching or kind of just crunchy in there. So what I actually did in the fall was an Ayurvedic cleanse. I've started studying Ayurveda, and it's an amazing system of medicine. If you've never experimented with Ayurveda or heard of it, I would urge you to look it up and do some, research on it. But ultimately, we're looking to attune our body to the rhythm and cycles of nature. And there are all kinds of practices that we do, and it's really circulated around nourishing our bodies and having good digestion. In Ayurveda, they say that the root of a lot of disease is poor digestion. And so, interestingly, we did a cleanse in the fall in September. And I asked my teacher, I said, will this cleanse help my arm? And she said, yes. And my automatic reaction was to not believe her. And so uh, I did this cleanse. It was a 12-day cleanse. And the purpose of the cleanse is to prepare our bodies to go into winter time. And so it's not the type of cleanse that you do to like lose weight or, it's different. The idea is to take out a lot of foods that create irritation or inflammation and to prepare our digestion for the winter. And so I did this cleanse. I took out everything. I mean, wheat, sugar, dairy, coffee, eggs, you name it. I was really eating rice and mung dal and vegetables and oatmeal and some very minimal seasonal fruit. But it was all geared towards eating seasonal foods and eating very simply so that my body could reset. And if you'll believe it, it was that cleanse that really started to heal my arm, like to the end. Like that cleanse took me to the finish line. And honestly, I really believe that had I removed a lot of inflammatory foods earlier on, that that could have probably helped me sooner. but the Ayurvedic cleanse really worked. So diet was a part of that, removing the inflammatory foods to help the inflammation go down. Another thing that really worked, and this was another suggestion of my Ayurvedic teacher, was castor oil. And you don't really, my doctor never told me about castor oil. You could read about it on the internet, but some people say it's only good for constipation, and it's actually a miracle. Um, but I got organic castor oil, make sure it's organic, and I would slather it all over my shoulder, all over my arm. And then I went to a secondhand store and I bought a flannel shirt. And I would put the flannel shirt on over the castor oil and just let the castor oil sit on my body for hours, really, until it all soaked in and kind of went away. A castor oil pack is a really popular thing to do where you put some castor oil on some organic wool or flannel fabric and you let it just sit on an area of your body. But because it was my whole shoulder, I couldn't find a castor oil pack that would work for that. So I kind of made one using a whole shirt because then I could just put the shirt on and let it sit and seep in and just go about my day without getting oil all over the house. So, if you're dealing with a frozen shoulder, try castor oil. It's honestly amazing. I felt like the Tin Man. That was my analogy. Like when the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz would get all locked up. And so they would put, the oil on his joints. That's how it felt. So get yourself some castor oil. The other thing that I did that was really helpful was I got a pillow that is made for side sleepers. And I'm going to find a link to the pillow that I bought and I'm going to put it in the comments of this video because it was really helpful. It was not a cozy pillow, but I had to get rid of all of my cozy pillows because my cozy pillows were way too soft and fluffy. And I don't know about you, but I didn't know what to do with my arms at night. It's this weird thing where I'm like moving around with my arms, like, where do these go? Because what I want to do is lay on my arm in a way that causes my arm to go numb. And that's what was happening, is I was re-injuring myself at night, and that was causing a lot of problems. Even if I felt okay during the day, I would undo it at night by sleeping on my arm in the funniest way. So maybe you can relate to that if you're having issues sleeping, because I know for me, the pain would get so bad, it would just wake me up almost every night. So I was having constant interrupted sleep. So I got rid of all of my soft pillows and I got myself this pillow that my my acupuncturist was the one that suggested it, and we would laugh that it was like a looked like a space landing, this pillow, because it had like a big divot for your head, and then it's got these little wings where you can slide your hands to. It's honestly amazing, but it's got places for your hands in this pillow. And if you roll over to your side, there's a place to put your arm so that you're not sleeping on your arm, because that's what I would do is I would curl up the pillow under my arm and like it was just awful. So I got this pillow and I've been using it for over a year now and it helped a lot. It helped to not re-injure myself at night because that's what's happening at night is you're re-injuring yourself and you're waking up in the morning and the whole cycle starts over again. So I'm going to find a link to that pillow and put it in the comments so you can check it out because having a good pillow changed everything. So I just also wanted to make this video to let you know that if you're watching this and you have a frozen shoulder, you're not alone. It was painful and it took a long time to heal. Maybe yours won't take as long as mine took, but I feel like mine took the worst case scenario amount of time, which, like I said, 3 years is what I'm probably including in the time that I didn't see the doctor. So it was about, you know, 2.5 years since I saw the doctor, and I was in pain about 6 months before that. I think I had about 4 or 5 steroid injections in the end, and acupuncture, chiropractic, uh, osteopath, you name it. I tried everything, massage, yoga when I could, deep intensive stretching. I also went for one of those professional stretch sessions, like where somebody just stretches you out. That was helpful too. So, what I want to say is don't give up on yourself. Continue to work at it. If you have a frozen shoulder, consider making some dietary changes to reduce the inflammation in your body. That helped a lot. And give yourself time. Give yourself compassion and love and comfort. And I'm not here to sound corny about it. I'm just saying, I know for me, I got really down on myself. The frozen shoulder would ruin my day. Sometimes if I like went walking and I walked too much, it would start to hurt. Like it really, anything could set it off. I mean, it hurt all the time, but then it would start to ache in a way that it was like out of control. So also don't let it go without doing anything. If you're having a frozen shoulder, I urge you to keep working at it for as long as it takes. I literally thought that it would just be frozen forever. Like I sort of had this like low grade acceptance, like, well, I guess this is just how it's going to be forever now. And that's also why I'm making this video, because I want to let you know that it gets better. That if you stick with it and you keep working on it, it will get better. You just have to stick with it and you have to keep on it. If you haven't seen a doctor yet, find yourself an osteopath or someone that you can talk to. The osteopath was the one that gave me the steroid shots, and the steroid shots were helpful. So I would say that the steroid shots each and every time took down not only my pain, but it also made it so that the stretching was tolerable. It's not that the steroid shot's going to fix it, but it will make the stretching better. So keep at it. Don't stop believing, and just be diligent and kind to yourself. And that's really what I have to say about it. It's a lonely path, having a frozen shoulder. It doesn't seem like a lot of people super understand. Like you'll say to somebody, I have a frozen shoulder, and they'll go, oh, like, like maybe they've heard of it or maybe they think they know what it is, but unless you've experienced not being able to use your arm, it's nuts. Now that it's over, I don't think about my arm anymore. And that's the weirdest thing is like, I'll just move my arm. I'll just like put on a shirt or pull on my pants or get my seatbelt, do all kinds of things and not even think about it. So it's really amazing. And it was so exciting that I really wanted to share, because I didn't find anything like this on the internet when I was going through my experience. So I partially made this video so that maybe I could be the friend that I didn't get to have while it was happening, of somebody saying, look, this is a thing, it hurts. I completely understand what you're going through. And if you keep at it and do all of the things, it'll go away. Even if it takes 3 years, it'll go away. So try all the things, stick everything on it, try as many things as you can. You know, if someone wants to like pray on your arm, do it. Like anything you can, do it. Because like I said, I can't say that any one thing was the thing that did it, except for time and and being consistent. Time and consistency is what eventually healed my arm. So if you're seeing this video and this is helping you, you can leave a comment, let me know what's going on. If you just need someone to talk to or troubleshoot with, I'm just your friendly internet gal with a frozen shoulder who healed. So also, yeah, just put a comment and let me know what's going on with you, just so that you don't feel alone. And I really hope that your arm heals. If you are watching this because you have a frozen shoulder, I hope that everything gets better for you as soon as possible. And if there's anything I can do to help, please just reach out, let me know. All right, my friend, take care of yourself.